someone has to keep it all the way authentic. And the fact that everyone is so complicit in the degradation of society, and I'm not even trying to make this some socio-political agenda. I really don't give a fuck, because at the highest level of awareness, you understand that the universe itself is going to die. Not simply Earth, not simply the sun that we have in our solar system, not simply all of the suns in the solar systems within the Milky Way and the Milky Way itself. The entire fucking universe is going to die one day if you have that capacity of a mind to understand the finitude of things on a grander scale, but then also bring that back down to the finitude of the minutia that loads humans in their insignificance. Whatever you are, your world is yours. Is that to say that race is unimportant, or something that shouldn't be considered as a variable in the well-being, in the economy? What is an economy? An economy is a circulation of resources, a compound of resources. What is management? The coordination of resources. So in the management of the economy, what is the three first letters of economy? Eco. In the ecosystem. So now that we understand the basics, I'm saying this is not a socio-political agenda. It's a simple acknowledgement that most people are 100% complicit in all the fuck shit that they complain about in this life. Now, I sit back and I'll make this personal address to my entire social network. Listen, I've been putting out this information, I've been guiding, I've been leading, I've been creating and delivering perspectives, I've been corralling and cajoling people towards a specific direction. And I've watched people for long durations of time choose to go in the opposite direction, choose to remain complicit in the problem. So it's not a matter of begging people who are unwilling to change. Nah. It's about acknowledging that these are the same people who are begging for the world to change, and they abstain from change. So as I circumspect and look at my entire social network, maybe there are people out there who are on the precipice of making that change because they recognize how complicit they are in their own poor poverty, in their own impoverishment. But I'll tell you this, I'm working and I'm running for those people who actually need this shit. If I made this shit about liberating black people, black is such an arbitrary term in contrast to what it means to be white. When it comes to being white, one, the population ain't even that large on the planet. Then when you talk about what it means to be black or colored, that shit is the most arbitrary thing in the world. Does it mean African descent? What about the people who have been in the Americas and who have mixed in with the natives and the Tainos and the indigenous population? Are they indigenous Americans or are they African? It gets so arbitrary that you don't even recognize how bullshit the concept is. I'll go on a tangent for a second. All of these quote unquote black people, right? Because nigga, you's a nigga. Give a fuck. They be trying to say, oh, I'm indigenous and I'm not black. Everybody has this big ass disidentification issue with being black. So let's just address that shit. I don't have a problem with being black because that shit don't even matter to me, bro. I've transcended it, as you should. But the fact that you consistently live in a state of negation of it to identify as something other than it shows that you really hate the fact that you're black. I don't give a fuck. Call me black, call me whatever the fuck. It is what it is. People like this are in a certain predicament. And I don't really care to sit back and beg the world to accommodate anything. I don't give a fuck about that. Yeah, sure, people were denied access to capital for an extended period of time, exploited, and people were profiting off of their labor for an extended period of time. And not only were people denied access to capital to then go out and venture on their own and invest their capital in venture capital investments, right? They were denied access to capital. Motherfuckers was unable, not even unable. They were prevented from even thinking. And this is why we must understand that education is a big part of the liberation of anybody's existential condition, because you do not know what you do not know. And they had this old saying that if you want to hide some shit from a nigga, put that shit in a book, right? So they used to deny people consciously, intentionally, and deliberately from even having the capacity to read. So it's not simply about capital, it's about capital. Capital comes in many forms. Whatever you are, your world is yours. But I'll say this, many people are complicit in their own impoverishment, which I will never abdicate anybody from the responsibility of liberating self through superior conduct. Now, I sit back and I also think about all of these talking heads and all of these individuals who claim to want to be leaders. What's differentiating me from them is that I'm a trained soul in true superior integrity on all levels, on all fronts of life. You can hear an individual speak. Yeah, plenty of people have plenty of ideas, but they're all hypothetical. And in their hypothetical being, they're hypocritical. They're hypocritical. Whatever you are, your world is yours. I pay attention to the game. And you need to start paying attention to the game too. Who is the most qualified to lead? Who is most qualified to speak? Not many, if any at all, other than Sheikhy Chic. Whatever you are. And I have to say that because that's not being arrogant. We can just look at the demonstration of excellence, demonstration of integrity, the demonstration of capacity, the demonstration of the things he shares from his soul that nobody else is sharing from theirs, because they're just as vacuitous, they're just as much of a vacuum as the motherfucking door down the street. Consider the vibrations raised. I ask you, who is most qualified? And everybody is saying that they're this and they're that, but they're very unqualified. And not only are they unqualified, they're disqualifying themselves daily with their habits and their actions. Now I'll just bring it back to you. You have to recognize how complicit you are in the impoverishment of your own life. Take full responsibility for your inferior conduct. For when you take full responsibility for your inferior conduct, you can rectify it with superior conduct. But until you take responsibility, you'll always be the one blaming someone else and expecting someone else to save you from you when nobody can save you from you. Even if God themselves came down, cracked the sky open, and interceded in your day, as entitled as you fucking don't even realize you are to that, you think God, the sustainer of all things in the universe, to come down and deal with you on your bullshit, to stop you from fucking your own life over? And even if that happened, what would happen is you tell God, oh, you're limiting me and you're taking away my free will. But they gave you free will. And when I say they, I'm just gender neutral. I'm not saying plural. God, singular, gave you free will. And look at what you've been doing with it. And then now fuck all of that. Now we get down to it. You have to be accountable to your superior conduct and your inferior conduct. But are you even qualified? Are you even qualified for the degree of life that you truly say that you want? All of these people, they bitch, they moan, they gripe, they have all these complaints, but they never change. They beg the world to change, but they're so committed to never changing themselves. And they don't even recognize the contradictions in their behavior to the results that they want in their life. The lack of congruence. So I ask you, who is most qualified one to lead people into the future? Because I'm beyond it's not how, right? Because as I've learned from my teacher, it's not how necessarily, because the information can be given to people. And many people have the information. And even if I gave you the blueprint, answers don't solve problems, people do. So are you going to be the person who solves and implements the answers and implements the systems which are necessary? Are you going to be the person who gets it done? So it's not how. That's not the issue anymore, because knowledge is widely available. Answers are widely available. And if you need the answers, you can consult with anybody who you see having the results you want and get the answer. So it's not about how. We can get past the how very fast. It's the who. And once you develop the who, We have to look at who these people are. And when you're dealing with Sheikhy Chic, I'll tell you something right now. It's now about the where. We've figured out how, and we've become the who. We've qualified ourselves at the highest level in a world full of people who are perpetually self-disqualifying on many levels. Now it's about where. You have to consider the course of the source that you're listening to or that you're potentially going to take advice from. Consider the course of action. Consider the course and path of which they're going, where they're going, where they have ended up as themselves. You are your greatest result. Never forget that. Everybody is their greatest result and greatest testimony to the efficacy of their efforts in life. So you need to recognize that. Simply consider the course that source of information or advice has followed, and where has it led them? Are they sober? Disqualified. Are they fit? No, disqualified. Are they actually enlightened, or are they just hoop, fucking clutching rocks and fucking burning incense and telling you that's a means of liberating you from the consequences of your inferior conduct? You cannot liberate yourself from inferior conduct, negative consequences of inferior conduct, with anything besides changing inferior conduct to superior conduct. You can't buy salvation, stupid. The salvation is in you changing your behavior. Whatever you are, your world is yours. They disqualify themselves on so many levels. And when it comes down to the money, understand that money is so riddled with confound variables that we cannot simply use the amount of money as a qualifier for the validity of a person's teachings, a person's guidance, a person's anything. Because at the end of the day, money is as I said, confound. There's so many confound variables when it comes to that. And as we're talking in this message about socioeconomics and different race groups and different political, whatever the fuck, there's so much to that if you use money as a sole measure of the quality of an individual, of the qualification of an individual to lead, then you'll be completely blind, because there are many people who have money who are totally disqualified and unqualified to lead people, because look at how they've led themselves. I've met many millionaires who still have many problems that money can't solve. Drug addicts, motherfucking belligerents, motherfucking just low quality people, out of shape. Yeah, it's like that. So money is not necessarily it's a marker in the long term, but in the short term it's not, because as anybody who's ever begun to take up any independent venture, you need to start out at zero. But that doesn't make a person less qualified simply because they're starting with a certain amount. It's the long-term view. So consider the vibrations raised. You have to pay attention to even if these people are qualified to lead. And I'll bring it back. Everyone out here is complicit in remaining complacent with the circumstances that are. So as I say this, consider the source of every course. Where do you want to be? How do you want to be? And who do you plan on being in the course of history? You ride with me, you ride with my team, you're going to learn to learn. You're going to learn how to learn. And once you learn to learn, you're going to learn how to be. But we need to develop you into something greater. This is not simply about working out. This is not some fucking weird-ass political agenda. This is truly about ushering a new level of human evolution. And plenty of motherfuckers talk at the mouth and have memorized many scripts and have put on many costumes. But I'll tell you this one thing. I'll never have to use any particular designer religion, designer philosophy, and their terminologies. And as an example, I'll never have to use any Islamic verbiage, any Christian verbiage, any Buddhist verbiage to communicate the values which are intrinsic and latent in these systems across transcultural phenomena. It is as it is. But these individuals, they'll go and they'll learn a script and they'll present themselves a certain way so that you can believe them more and they can absorb your power. I want you to keep your power. The only thing I want from you is for you to want for yourself to be a better person and for you to do that. And if you deny me that, you're not denying me that. You're denying yourself that. At the end of the day, I'm not dependent on you as an outcome. I would love to see you do better. I would love to see the world do better. This is why I do what I do. And I didn't choose this shit. This shit chose me. I didn't jump in the game because I said, oh yeah, I see people making money from being coaches. And you can look at my track record. I've always been this individual. So consider the vibrations raised. Ain't nothing phony about this. I'ma always be Sheikhy Chic. I'ma always be Ayman. I might change my name, my nickname from whatever the fuck, but I'ma always be Ayman. I'm never gonna turn this into some fucking drink the Kool-Aid, be holier than thou shit. I'm doing the exact opposite because I've seen where that leads people, and it always leads people to a point of self-aggrandizement, and then also a point where people tend to mistake the messenger for the message when the message is the message. And that's what y'all have to recognize. YWY is the message. Your world is yours is the message. Autonomy, self-determinism, understanding that you have the power to control your destiny by setting the destination. So now we're no longer about how do I produce these results. The results are easy to produce when you become the who. You need to become the individual who actually applies the answers. It's not the answers that solve the problem. People solve problems. Answers don't solve problems. People do. And once you get good at applying these answers, then you become an individual and you become a leader for yourself. It's about the where, homie. Where are you going? Most people aren't going very far or anywhere new. We're pioneering. We're voyaging into spaces and places and mental planes that everybody is not doing. You can hear the recapitulation, you can hear the regurgitation, you can hear the recitation, and you can hear people just passing around bullshit slogans. YWY, your world is yours. A very unique perspective. And that's what it's about. Because what makes an individual unique? What makes you, what are you, a trainer? You going to tell me to work out? Are you going to tell me to track my macros? What makes you unique? Why you? And it's about the background. And I never really speak too much on my background, about my experiences. But everybody can feel and see and understand before I even try to tell you about my background story that this individual is unique and has a very unique perspective. And it's in collecting unique perspectives that you will be able to direct yourself better in life. To where are you going? So remember, I'm watching everybody. They're all complicit in their complacency. And I understand that. And nobody can make me feel like I'm doing the wrong thing or I'm not being effective because you chose to stay where you are as you are in an inferior condition because you still play the blame victim game. It's over for that. I pay attention to everybody in my life. I no longer expect anybody who's in my life to change because you've already shown what side you stand on. You playing different, you stay on that complicit, complacent side. And lastly, as we circumspect and reflect on the game, we have to understand that a lot of these individuals, including you, are self-disqualifying individuals. You're very unqualified for the life that you want because you operate in contrast and in contradiction to the outcomes that you want to produce. So it's about removing the contradictions from your behavior in existence, removing yourself from being a contradiction and beginning to live in congruence with reality and with the reality that you want to produce. Every day you miss, you disqualify yourself from that life that you want to live. Every day you don't do the work, you disqualify yourself from the life you want to live. Every day you relapse and choose to indulge in drugs and vices and all that other shit, you disqualify yourself. So they're very self-disqualifying. And at the highest level, even if a person is sober and fit, how qualified are they to lead by levels of integrity, levels of clarity, and levels of rarity in their perspective? It's not hard to go find a book in a library, read it, and recite it back to the world. It's almost impossible to be a genius if you're not one. Consider the vibrations raised. Evolution only solution, self-mastery only success. We're here to help you qualify for the higher level of life that you truly seek, and stop you from self-disqualifying from the life that you truly seek. Now, if you choose to stay complicit and complacent in your own self-destruction and personal impoverishment, then fuck your life. We're going to find the people who aren't satisfied to continue to do that. We're going to find the people who are no longer willing to sabotage themselves and no longer willing to disqualify themselves, and those people who are ready to take their spots and qualify themselves at the highest level. Whatever you are, your world is yours. Consider the vibrations raised. Evolution only solution, self-mastery only success. Listen, go get yourself one of these shirts, man. It's one of the flyest shirts in the world. You know what I'm saying? Big whatever you are logo on the back. I'll tell you, and if you look at the store right now, you're probably going to see a couple free new designs. You know what I'm saying? A couple new designs. So whatever you are, your world is yours. Consider the vibrations raised. Evolution only solution, self-mastery only success. Ask yourself every day when you look at your habits, are you disqualifying or qualifying yourself for that position in life, that state of existence that you want? And you'll find that many people, including you, have been disqualifying themselves from the reality that they want with what? Their behavior. And what is behavior? Conduct. You can't buy your way out of inferior conduct. You can only seek the guidance for you to then apply it towards liberating yourself from your poor conduct. Superior conduct is the only answer. And the only way to maintain superior conduct is to start to set a superior standard of operation for yourself. Consider the vibration raised. Evolution only solution, self-mastery only success. We worldwide with it, baby. Join the team.